Hello all, my name is Elena and I'm going to be telling you about my acoustic neuroma story and like how it happened to me. I'm 21 years old, I'm going to get that out. And in case you don't know what an acoustic neuroma is and you just randomly stumbled upon this video, I will explain it to you. An acoustic neuroma is a non-cancerous tumor in the main nerve leading to from the inner ear to your brain. My doctor said that it typically grows a millimeter a year if it does grow at all, and mine was 52 millimeters. Like I said, I'm 21 years old, so clearly I was above average. 52 millimeters is a little over 2 inches. So I had a 2-inch tumor in my brain, and if I continuously look to the side, it's because I wrote some notes for myself to stay on topic. So there's 3 things you can do if you're diagnosed with an acoustic neuroma. There's the watch and wait, which you just, it's discovered through an MRI. So you get MRIs every so often, whatever your doctor says, and you see if it continues to grow. That's only if it is small enough for you to do that. You could also get radiation, so it stunts its growth. So it stops growing. And then the last thing is surgery. I had to have surgery for mine because mine was so large. Surgery was really the only option. We couldn't watch and wait, and we couldn't do radiation. So now I'm going to tell you like how we found out about it, how the surgery went, how my time in the hospital was, stuff like that. So in about March of this year, something like that, I don't remember the exact date, March 2017, my ears got clogged and I went to a CVS Minute Clinic just to get them cleaned out. I used Q-tips. Don't use Q-tips to clean your ears. They're very bad for them. Yeah. if you have wax, it like pushes it in there even more. Anyways, so I got my ears cleaned out, and then about a week or so after that, my ears started ringing. My right ear started ringing, and I don't know, I kind of didn't really think anything of it for a while, which if that happens to you, please go see a doctor. Anyways, so I had ear ringing and my hearing got less. So on June 15th, I went to my primary doctor. She looked in my eardrum. She's like, there's no torn eardrum. There's no other tears in your ear. There's not really any wax in there either. And she ordered me an MRI. On June 23rd, I got my MRI, and I went in at 5 p.m. and I had contrast. Contrast hurts like hell if you ever have to get contrast. So about 70% of the MRI was without contrast, and then they had to put contrast in. They put it in my arm. Hurt going in, it burned. They said that's actually pretty normal, so whatever. So I got my MRI at 5 p.m. and then at 6:30 I got home, and at around 7:30 my doctor called me and said that she got the results for my MRI and they think I have a tumor in my brain and that I need to go to the emergency room right now. So we went to the emergency room, and the hospital that we had to go to wasn't even the closest hospital. There's like 2 or 3 closer hospitals, but this one had a neurological department. So we got there at about 8:20. My mom drove me, and in the emergency room, it was kind of just like slow going. I got into a room pretty quickly, but for the next couple hours, we were seeing some people come in and out. They drew some blood from me, and but we weren't really getting any concrete answers until the doctor who ended up operating on me came in at about midnight, and he sat us down and talked to us, told us what's going on, told us that I have something called an acoustic neuroma. It's 52 millimeters, all the kind of stuff that I told you guys earlier. Surgery was the only option. And he told me that he wanted to schedule the surgery for July 3rd. So that's, what we ended up doing. So between me finding out what was going on with me and the surgery was 9 days. Sucked. Anyways, but we had faith in him. He seemed very sure with what he was saying. He had operated on other people before. We met with him the next Friday, the Friday before my surgery. Talked to him. I had a couple, we came up with a couple questions with him. My biggest worry was has he had done this surgery before, and was mine the largest? Because he said that mine was very, very large and unusual. So, I wanted to make sure he had operated on somebody before that had, the same size, if not bigger. And he said that actually the week before he had operated on somebody whose tumor was larger. So, yeah. So the surgery was on July 3rd. We got there at 6 in the morning, and we met with the doctors, met with the anesthesiologist. I met the ENT that was operating on me. Because of the area that it's so sensitive, they make a crescent shape behind your ear, so it kind of goes like this. Because it's such a sensitive area, we had an ENT, which is an ear, nose, throat doctor. He made the incision, opened up my skull, and then the neurologist came in and removed the tumor, and then the ENT closed me back up. So we met with everybody, and then they kind of went into more detail of what else was going to happen. They put a lumbar drain in my back, on my lower back, because apparently brain leakage is a thing that could happen. So the fluid in your brain is from your spinal cord. So they had a spinal tap, and so during the surgery, not as much fluid was in my brain, making it easier for them to operate on. And they ended up keeping it in for a couple more days because brain leakage can happen through your nose or through the incision. It didn't happen to me, but it can happen. So they kept the lumbar drain in. And they also made a little incision by my belly because once your skull is cut out of, it's cut, it's damaged, and it's basically dead. So you can't put that back. So what they did when they closed me back up was put the little piece of fat from my belly and then put a titanium plate and then closed the skin up. So I don't have 100% of my skull now. I have a little piece of titanium. Oh yeah, the other thing that they told me actually in the emergency room is because of the size of my tumor is I would be deaf in my right ear for the rest of my life, which was not anything that I wanted to hear. I'm 21 years old. I don't want to be deaf practically already in an ear. But, that's the only thing that, could happen. So, sorry, my dog's being annoying. So yeah, and they said that there's nothing that could be done about that because the tumor was so big it had stretched the nerve out already so far that it, once the pressure was relieved off of it, that all the hearing would be gone. I also have no balance on my right side, but your brain is pretty flexible that like my left side has been able to take over from my right side. It is a little difficult like walking and stuff. Well, not regular walking. The regular walking is okay, but I've been going to physical therapy, and you know when they do like the sobriety test, like your heel to toe kind of thing. I'm a little wobbly with that, but you don't walk like that normally, so it's okay. And they also said that I might have some facial paralysis, which that scared me a lot. But again, there's nothing that could be done, you know. I kind of had to just go with the flow. Anyways, so I had the surgery. We got there at 6 a.m., but the surgery didn't start until about 8 because, you know, pre-op and stuff like that. And then I woke up at 9 p.m. So the surgery was 13 hours long. The doctor had told me that it would be about 8. Clearly, it wasn't. It was about 13 hours long. I woke up in the recovery room post-op. I was awake for about an hour, but I couldn't keep my eyes open. It was really interesting. Like I was just like so tired kind of, but I wasn't like falling asleep. I was awake. I could hear everything that was happening, but whatever. So once I could keep my eyes open, I got a CT scan right away. I guess they did that to make sure that everything had closed up properly. And then I went to the ICU, the intensive care unit. I was in the intensive care unit for about a day and a half. I got out, my surgery was on a Monday, and I got out Wednesday afternoon, early evening. While I was in the ICU, I started throwing up. When I was in the ICU, I threw up 4 times. Now, I've had another surgery before, and I never had an issue with feeling ill, but I guess that's just because, you know, the other surgery was about 3 hours, and this one's 13. So, you know, I threw up, and I couldn't even keep water down or anything like that, so I was just throwing up bile, which that might be gross, but that's what was happening with me. They were giving me steroids, which made my blood sugar high, which it didn't get that high. I think the highest it got when they checked was 184, so that's not that bad. But you know, normally mine's very low. Well, not very low, but you know, normal. So they gave me insulin. They gave me 2 shots of insulin. I think the other time they gave me the insulin, I was like 163, which again is even better than 183 or whatever it was. But you know, they wanted to make sure that it didn't get too high or anything. On Tuesday afternoon, I got another MRI, which was horrible because I was feeling very nauseous. So I had to stay in the MRI machine, and it was hurting my back because I was so used to laying in the bed, and it was just like metal or like plastic, whatever, that you have to lay on for the MRI. Again, they gave me contrast for that. It hurt a lot again, and it was in my hand this time because when I woke up for the surgery, they had obviously given me one IV before the surgery, and when I woke up from the surgery, I had an IV in this hand, an IV in this hand, and another like IV this hand, so they could draw blood because they knew they were going to be drawing blood from me a lot, just checking all my levels and stuff. So I had another one there, and this one actually ended up clogging, so they couldn't even use this. So every time they had to draw my blood, they had to actually like draw it manually and poke me every single time, which was not fun, but what are you gonna do? I got one needle out of me, at least this one that was in there. So the MRI was okay. I actually fell asleep in the MRI. but it was like the first time that I kind of was telling the difference that I was deaf in this ear, because the MRI makes a lot of noise, and they had an earplug in my left ear, the good ear, but obviously you could still hear it, and I was getting like chills from the noises and stuff, but I ended up I ended up falling asleep. But when the dude came in and gave me the contrast, woke me up, it hurt like heck, and then I really had to pee, which might be TMI again, but I had to go so bad, and they couldn't let me until I was done with the MRI. But, you know, they got me out, got me to the bathroom, so. The whole time my mom was there, she wasn't spending the nights, but she was basically spending like 9 to 5, or even, yeah, I would say around that, maybe 9 to 6 or something like that. So she was spending a lot of time with me in the hospital. Tuesday evening, my mom left, so the boy that I used to babysit could come visit with his mom. I don't really babysit him anymore, but, you know, because he's old enough, but we still talk. They're like family friends to me now, or even family, really. So they came and visited. I was passed out like the entire time. I felt bad, but, you know, I felt guilty like for being asleep so much when they were visiting, but, you know, I was exhausted. Anyways, so they left, and then Wednesday they took the drain out of my back because I did not have any brain leakage, but so they took that out. I had to lay flat on my back for a couple hours while everything like settled and stuff. They also took the bandage off of my ear, or it wasn't on my ear, but it was like on the back of my head. And then they put me in a regular room. I had a physical therapist person come in pretty much right when I got to my room Wednesday, and she was trying to like have me stand up, and I had already stood up already. I had been walking around. I had been walking to the bathroom. I walked around a little bit outside the ICU, just like in a small circle. So I had already been walking, but you know, I didn't have a physical therapist coming in while I was in the ICU, but when I got into a regular room, she came, and I felt bad because I threw up, and I hadn't even stood up yet when I threw up. I had just sat up, and she was like kind of putting resistance on my leg, seeing how strong I was and stuff like that, and I threw up all over the floor, and I had been able to keep a little bit of water in at that point, so there was a lot of throw up for that one. I still hadn't eaten at that point, and this was Wednesday, so I didn't eat Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was able to drink a little bit of water Wednesday morning, so I threw up all over the place, and for a while I had been refusing the shot of anti-nausea because I just didn't want to get poked with another needle. But when I got to the regular room, the nurse that I had he poked me with, he just went in with the anti-nausea, and it ended up helping. The other ones didn't help, but that one helped. Should have just taken it earlier, but whatever. Let's see, what else happened? Thursday, I had 2 people come visit me, and I slept pretty much the whole time there. My mom was there all day, and then I work at a farmer's market, and one of the ladies from the farmer's market came and visited me in the hospital, and then my friend Izzy came and visited me Thursday. I was basically asleep the whole time when the 2 of them came, but my mom kind of entertained them, and they watched some TV and stuff like that, so I guess it was okay. Thursday, I was able to shower. They let me shower. I couldn't really wash my hair very well. Like, I could scrub this side, but I couldn't scrub on this side. I still had the stitches in and stuff like that, so I wasn't really able to clean, but it felt better, like washing my body and stuff. And I still had one IV in my hand at that point, so they had to put like a huge sticker on so needle didn't get wet and stuff, so couldn't really use this hand in the shower, but it felt nice anyways. And then I had the physical therapist come back in, and she actually got me up walking around a little bit, and I felt very bad because it was the same lady that came the day before, and I threw up again. After we got back to my room, I walked around a little bit, told her I was feeling nauseous, sat back down in my bed, threw up. Felt so bad. But what are you gonna do? And then Thursday night, I had like a very small cup of soup, and I ate about half of it, and I kept it down. So that was the first time I had eaten in like 4 days, basically. Yay. And then Friday came around, and they told me if I was able to keep a little bit more food, I could be released that day. So for breakfast, I had peaches and toast. Not very filling, but that's what I ate. Ate all of it. Took me a few hours, but I kept it down. I had another physical therapist come in. It was not the same person, and she took me upstairs because I actually live on the 3rd floor and we don't have an elevator, so I had to know how to do stairs and be able to do stairs with a little bit of help because my mom was with, so if I needed a little help, she could have helped me, but I needed to know how to. So I did that, did everything, and they were very happy that I had, was able to shower by myself and all that kind of stuff, do the stairs. So they let me go home at about, let's say 5 p.m. I left it about Friday because I knew that if I didn't get released that day, I know it's kind of hard to get out of the hospital once the weekend hits, so I didn't want to stay. So my mom drove me home. I sat in the back seat because I was feeling very dizzy in the car, and she had to pull over twice because I felt like I was going to throw up. I didn't end up throwing up. We got home, I got up the stairs, I basically went straight to sleep. And, I was able to eat little things. Yogurt and fruit was my favorite thing to eat for the next couple days. And my mom went back to work Tuesday, so I got home on a Friday. She had doctor's appointments herself on Monday, so I kind of had her on Monday. And Saturday, Sunday for those 3 days, and then I was basically just sleeping for the next couple days. And then once, I think it was Thursday or maybe even Wednesday, my body just decided I couldn't sleep. I was having a very hard time sleeping. I ended up taking some melatonin to help me sleep at night because I couldn't. But that's gotten better now. I'm sleeping normal. Then the next Friday, so a week after I got out of the hospital, I got my stitches out. Yeah, the scar still kind of itches, which happens when it's healing. My neck and back were very stiff, and I can't tell if that's just from the surgery or if it's because I was stuck in bed for 5 days, barely moving. But I feel better now, and I'm going to physical therapy to help with that a little bit and also help with my balance. On the 19th of September, I'm going to go get a hearing test and fitted for a cross hearing aid, because my right ear will always be deaf. I will never be able to hear out of that unless they come up with something magical in the next couple of years. But as of right now, I will always be deaf in that ear. But they have a hearing aid which you put one each ear, and you can kind of tell, because sometimes if I'm at work, somebody is talking on my right side, but I think they're on my left side because I can't hear in this ear. So the hearing aid is supposed to help your brain redirect and be able to tell where where the sound is coming from, which direction the sound is coming from. I also have an MRI October 16th to make sure that nothing is growing, it's not growing back, if it's staying the same. They're hoping that because most of it's gone, that it just dies, you know? Because I have a little bit left on my facial nerve, so I didn't get complete facial paralysis, or paralyzation, whatever. Because I do have a little bit, like, this eyebrow lifts more, and when I smile, this one doesn't go as much. I went back to work last week after 2 months off. It's been kicking my butt standing like crazy, standing all the time, but what are you gonna do? Anyways, so, I mean, for a bad situation, it wasn't that bad. You know, could have, you know, not had it, and that would have been awesome, but the recovery process wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be for some strange reason, but, you know, somebody's calling me now, so I'm going to go. I hope this helped you guys, because I know when I found out about it, I watched people's stories, and it helped me. Anyways, thanks, guys.